We have, of course, Justin, who I believe is our 7-0.
Now 8-0 since he won top 8.
Now 8-0, so undefeated.
Still undefeated
this weekend. So we're sure to see a commanding performance from him. We're going to see, I should say, we're going to see a fantastic performance from him. But he's going to be going up against Sam, who actually secured his Worlds invite by getting top 8, correct?
Yeah, he only needed top 8 to secure his Worlds invite, and he's done that here.
But who doesn't want to be the regional champion?
Right.
So I'm sure he's going to be giving it his all in this next match against Justin. Looking at their teams, Justin is running Xerneas, Kyogre, Kangaskhan, Smeargle, Amoonguss, and Talonflame. So Talonflame, a Pokemon that we haven't seen a lot of this weekend.
And I'm glad about that. I don't like Talonflame too much.
Well, I mean, it's proving to work for Justin.
Yep, we saw it in the top 8. It did a really good job for Justin.
Yeah, we've seen that Will-O-Wisp too, which isn't super common as far as just seeing Will-O-Wisp in general as a move this season, thanks to Groudon. We were talking a lot about that off stream. But our players are ready, so we can jump over to the championship table. This is going to be the very last game before we have our finals. And of course, we see Sam there on screen. His team is actually Kangaskhan, Smeargle, Groudon, Xerneas, Cresselia, and Zapdos. So Zapdos, each player bringing a flying type Pokemon that we don't see a lot of right now.
Zapdos has a couple interesting things that Thundurus doesn't have. Tailwind's a big one, but also Roar, something Thundurus doesn't get. Roar is a way to stop Trick Room, and it's also decent against Xerneas. When it Geomancies, you can roar it out.
Yep. Or when a Groudon sets up Swords Dance, like we've seen a few times this week.
Right. The only difference is Thundurus, very similar, because instead of Tailwind, it gets Thunder Wave. That could even be better than Tailwind in a lot of situations. And then Taunt, also stopping Trick Room and Geomancy. So they're both similar Pokemon. Let's see. I'm curious what Zapdos does. I didn't get to cast the game with Zapdos in the top 8, so yeah. I'm excited for that.
Definitely. We're, of course, going to be watching from Justin's perspective, so Sam's team is going to be on the screen right now. I'm really excited because Thundurus and Zapdos, like you said, they're similar but different, but their stats are also, I believe Zapdos is a bit more defensive.
It is. Zapdos actually is equally as offensive as Thundurus. They've got the same special attack, but Zapdos is just bulkier. It's not as fast, and of course it doesn't have the ability that Thundurus has.
Yeah,
which
it doesn't have Prankster. Just recently, Zapdos with Static was distributed and became available, so that's definitely a little bit of a...
It's a nice tech against Kangaskhan in case it goes for a fake out. That's double the chance to paralyze it.
Yes.
But in this format, not as relevant as it may have been in past years, had it been released before.
Definitely, and nowhere near as, I would say, I want to say nowhere near, but nowhere near as relevant as Prankster.
Right.
Because Prankster, like you said, being able to shut down and set up things like Gravity, Trick Room, etc. with Taunt is really, really clutch. We see, of course, Smeargle makes it all the way to top 4 because Smeargle is that Pokemon that just can do what you need it to do. And, you know, we kind of said we're kind of partial to Dark Void Misses, so I'm kind of hoping we'll see a couple of those.
Yeah, I'm more partial to Talonflame this match. I'm not a Talonflame fan, but compared to Smeargle, I don't mind seeing a Talonflame Brave Bird Smeargle and take it down.
Yeah, I might have to agree with you on that front. Either way, it's cool to see that trainers, they build their teams, they choose a Pokemon they want to use, despite the way that our casting crew feels. We're going to go ahead and see who each trainer is going to lead off. Leads are super important. I know Game 1 is more about knowledge, but still, you don't want to throw a game with a bad lead. So we're going to see Kangaskhan and Talonflame come out for Justin, and Sam is going to lead with that Zapdos. So really cool to see it right away, and the Groudon.
The interesting thing here is the Sun is going to power up Talonflame's Flare Blitz. So that will do a lot to Zapdos. Zapdos, like we talked about before, it's bulky, so there's a good chance it can survive the Flare Blitz, but again, that all depends. And if it doesn't KO, it'll at least do a lot of damage to Zapdos. But of course, a Thunderbolt from Zapdos, that's an easy one-hit KO on Talonflame.
Definitely. And something to keep in mind is that I know we've seen a lot of dual primal cores, but Sam doesn't have dual primal. He opted for Xerneas alongside his Groudon. So he doesn't have the option to beta fire type attack, switch into Kyogre.
Yep, I was about to say that next. There's no Kyogre coming in to be afraid about here.
Yeah, Justin's not going to switch in his Kyogre. I don't think Justin would switch in his Kyogre right now if he wants to take advantage of the summer. We're going to see Talonflame go right away for that Flare Blitz. The player knows that this is going to survive. Barring a critical, we're going to see a Flare Blitz go. It's going to take the Zapdos down in the sun. Oh my goodness. I mean, and it makes sense. Talonflame is really strong. We're going to see it is holding a Life Orb, which of course increases the damage output, and then the Sun just helps even more. We're going to see a Return Connect onto that Groudon. Going to do about 35-40% here, and Groudon's going to go for a Fire Punch, most likely into that Kangaskhan slot. We're going to see just how much damage it's going to do. I don't like, it's not going to pick up the knockout, but it's a sizable amount.
Yeah, really good turn for Justin there. Talonflame getting a surprise, maybe a surprise one-hit KO on that Zapdos. Perhaps that Zapdos was trained to take special attacks better than physical attacks. since there's a lot of Kyogres, there's a lot of Xerneases, even Groudons carry Eruption sometimes, so maybe he decided to train it more on the special side.
Yeah, it's possible. I think what's interesting here is that now there's fake-out pressure on Sam's side of the field. So even though he is down a Mon, both of Justin's Pokemon have taken a good amount of damage, especially the Kangaskhan. Kangaskhan looks like it might be in range for a fake-out knockout, which would be pretty important because you can avoid any sort of Sucker Punch shenanigans.
It is, but then Talonflame's going to get off another attack since it's so fast.
That is very true, in the sun, too.
Yep. Flare Blitz onto Kangaskhan or Brave Bird on Groudon. I'm guessing he would go for the Flare Blitz on Kangaskhan.
Yeah, and we're going to see the Sam
not going to happen.
Not going to happen because Sam opts to go for the fake out on the Talonflame. I thought for a second that second hit was a crit. We're going to see Talonflame does flinch. Kangaskhan goes for the low kick onto Sam's Kangaskhan. It's going to do a huge amount of damage. Not enough to take it out, though. Needed a critical hit there in order to secure that knockout. And we're going to see a Fire Punch from Groudon, most likely going into the Kangaskhan slot and going to pick up that knockout. I'm not sure if I would have preferred to see the Talonflame get knocked out because Sucker Punch isn't going to activate over a priority Brave Bird.
Right. So I think Justin still in a pretty good spot. Talonflame is going to get off another attack because even if Kangaskhan goes for a Sucker Punch, that Brave Bird's just going to outspeed it and Sucker Punch will fail. So
exactly. That's why I almost would have preferred to have seen the Fire Punch go into the Talonflame and then use your Sucker Punch and Kangaskhan to take out the Groudon on the following turn. And of course, it's terrifying when a Xerneas hits the field.
Yep, because it's going to get a Geomancy up this turn because there's no way Groudon will be able to knock it out in one hit itself, barring a critical hit. And Talonflame has the option of just knocking out Kangaskhan here.
Definitely, and having seen Fake Out on the Kangaskhan, it's most likely that there is no such thing as a Protect on this Kangaskhan. We haven't seen the full set yet. Maybe we have throughout the course of the tournament, but I don't think we'll see Protect to preserve that Kangaskhan. We could potentially see a switch, but Kangaskhan's set so low HP that it might not be worth the preservation.
Yeah, I think you just sacrifice Kangaskhan for Talonflame to feint a recoil.
Wow, and we're going to see the Xerneas goes for a Protect here instead of setting up that Geomancy. Talonflame going to set up a Tailwind, so instead of trying to take out a weaker Kangaskhan, just going to go ahead and go for the Tailwind to set up Fire Punch. Oh my goodness,
wow.
An absolutely free Tailwind for Justin because Sam decided to double into that slot.
That is a great turn for Justin. Sam just so worried about that Xerneas. Just assumed that Talonflame would attack, as I know I did, but yeah. I think you still want to target it because even if Talonflame does attack, like if you target it, I mean, your attack is going to get switched over to Xerneas anyway, so you might as well just target the Talonflame.
Definitely. We're going to see Justin this point around goes for a Brave Bird. I wouldn't be surprised if we see it targeting down that Kangaskhan. Yes, absolutely targeting the Kangaskhan because it can live the recoil of the Brave Bird, but the Life Orb is going to take it out. Like you just said, had he targeted into that slot, it was guaranteed to switch over to Xerneas. So I think targeting with Groudon into that slot would have been perfect that last turn, and he would still have a Kangaskhan at this point. But we're going to see a Geomancy from Xerneas here under Tailwind, as if this deer couldn't get any faster after a Geomancy. With all the stat increases and the fact that Groudon can't do too much to his Xerneas, Justin is definitely in a commanding position right now.
Yeah, Fire Punch should do a lot of damage to it, but it won't knock it out, which is what's key.
Exactly. We'll see the Fire Punch does come out right now. Barring a critical hit, it's not going to pick up the knockout. We're going to see it do around 60%. I don't even think with a critical hit, it wouldn't have picked up the knockout, actually.
Yeah, it looks like the Xerneas is a little bit bulkier than normal, which I like.
Yeah.
Man, he's got the Amoonguss to redirect anything.
Yeah, so Xerneas is pretty much guaranteed to stay here. We're going to see that Sam brings out his own Xerneas, so definitely an interesting position here.
Yeah, not that bad for Sam.
Yeah, because, oh, wow, this is actually really close because if Amoonguss goes for the redirection and takes a Fire Punch, it's getting knocked out.
Right, and Xerneas can't KO Groudon here, and Sam's Xerneas can go for a Geomancy, and then if it's faster than Justin's Xerneas, that's a KO.
That is definitely a KO. We'll have to keep in mind, the Tailwind should be petering out this turn, but if it doesn't, then Justin's Xerneas will still be faster. But of course, Sam could always go for a Protect and just wait out that Tailwind if it was still up. Yeah,
Tailwind won't have any impact until Sam's Xerneas gets a Geomancy. And by then, he can easily stall out the Tailwind.
For sure. So we're going to see what both players decide to do. Justin Xerneas goes for a Moonblast, targeting down the Groudon as he has to, hoping for a critical hit here. It's going to just barely miss the knockout. The opposing Xerneas is going to go for a Moonblast instead of going for anything else. Goes for Moonblast into that Amoonguss slot, and we're going to see a Precipice Blades going to connect on both Pokemon. Going to be doing a sizable amount of damage. It's going to pick up the knockout on Xerneas, and Amoonguss is going to sit there with very little HP, securing the game for Sam.
That's one of the benefits of saving Xerneas till the end rather than leading with it and getting it set up early, because you bring it in when everything is already weakened. As we saw that Xerneas only had 80 or so HP left, it was it was set up and Tailwind Geomancy, but it just didn't have enough HP to pull through there.
It's insane to see how little HP Groudon lived on.
Yeah, that Moonblast from a Geomancy up Xerneas does a lot, even though Groudon resists it, as you saw, but just barely not enough.
Barely not enough. And that could be something with training. Maybe it wasn't trained fully in special attack. It's possible, especially considering you're so used to setting up Geomancy, you might want to go ahead and invest in a little more bulk. You had said the Xerneas seemed a little bulky.
Right.
So it would make sense. But that was still, it was a fast-paced match, but it was well played by both sides.
It was, and it was very close, too. So I don't know, there might not need to be all that much adjustment coming from Justin, even though he lost that. I think if he does a similar thing, maybe play a little bit differently, he can still pull out a victory, certainly. So he might need to adjust just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I mean, I don't know exactly what those adjustments would need to be. We saw the lead with Kangaskhan that he had done before.
Right, he got set up and everything. Things were going fine, so I think if he does that, maybe change up a couple moves here and there. He could certainly come back in game 2, just doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's interesting because there was a turn, too, where Sam doubled into a Protect Xerneas.
Right.
And I don't think Sam will do that twice. I might, but that's a pretty huge swing to still lose a game with after having that. But we'll see. I hope that Justin does readjust. We love game 3s here at the commentator's desk, so we're hoping that Justin makes any tiny adjustments that he has to make to secure the win, and we can see a game 3. But either way, we got some Pokemon action going on, so I'm happy. We got Kangaskhan and Talonflame leading for Justin, and Sam going ahead and leading with Kangaskhan Cresselia.
Yep, so Justin is going to go with the same thing, but Sam recognized he didn't get off to the best start in the previous game, so he switches up his leads here, and I like that. Cresselia, a more supportive Pokemon, definitely good here against Kangaskhan and Talonflame if it's got either Trick Room or Thunder Wave or anything. It's going to be helpful in this situation.
Especially because when Sam had led with the Groudon, it brought the Sun that helped the Talonflame knock out that Zapdos.
That's
so
a key thing, too.
Definitely recognizing, hey, let's not lead with the Sunlight this time around because Talonflame is there and it is a threat.
Yep, and I'm sure he's still got both Groudon and Xerneas in the back, so I really like Sam's position here. We saw how they cleaned up last game.
Without a doubt. We're going to see that both Kangaskhan's are going to Mega Evolve here. It's going to be a question of which one fires off a Fake Out and where they fired off first. It could be a speed tie. We'll find out in just a second.
If they even want to, maybe they just want to attack.
Yeah, they might, but we're going to see that Justin does go for that Fake Out on Cresselia here, potentially just wanting to get some damage off on this incredibly defensive Pokemon. We're going to see that Kangaskhan from Sam's side is going to go for a Fake Out on that Talonflame, so we're going to have just trading Fake Outs here, which is somewhat common. But you were mentioning that maybe they want to go for an attack. What do you think? What do you think you would have liked to have seen?
Well, Talonflame wouldn't have threatened to KO on either Cresselia or Kangaskhan. I mean, the most it would have done to impact Justin's remaining members of his team was set up a Tailwind. If Sam's Kangaskhan went for, say, a return on Talonflame, that would have knocked it out, and he wouldn't have lost anything for it. That might have been a move he was considering, but decided just go for the Fake Out, put some pressure on it. I mean, we saw how much Fake Out did. Maybe a Cresselia Psychic, if it has it, could even take out the Talonflame after the recoil. So
possibly, because we're going to see that Flare Blitz go into the Cresselia slot. It's going to do a huge amount of damage. Wow. It's a crit. Going to do extra recoil because of that, but realistically, the damage that Cresselia took is not what Sam wanted to see. And we're going to see Kangaskhan double into that slot, get rid of one of the most defensive Pokemon in this format within turn 1, which I think was Justin's thought process. Like, let's just get rid of this Pokemon.
Yep, so that critical hit ended up not mattering since he double targeted that Cresselia.
Yeah. We're going to see a Frustration fire off into the Talonflame to take out the very little HP that was remaining. I think I would have liked to have seen the Kangaskhan take some damage on Justin's side of the field from Sam at that point.
Yeah.
It's tough because, I mean, Talonflame has niche with Tailwind and Priority Brave Bird.
Right.
So you kind of do want to get rid of it.
I don't mind him getting rid of that Talonflame there.
You know what it is? Free switching scare me, man. Like, now he's got a free switch into Kyogre where he could have had a mostly hurt Kangaskhan. But, like you said, it's not the wrong play at all. It's just preference, I think. But Kyogre's going to go ahead and Primal Revert, setting up that rain. Xerneas hit the field on Sam's side, which, once again, whenever you see a Xerneas, it's something you got to consider and figure out what you want to do. But Justin being in good positioning, having a Kangaskhan and a Primal Kyogre.
Yep, definitely. But you have to imagine Sam has a Groudon in the back where he can turn off the rain. Kyogre won't be able to do a whole lot, but Kangaskhan still does a lot of damage, so he'll get a Geomancy up by doing that, but will it be worth it? Because Kyogre has massive special defense. A Moonblast or a Dazzling Gleam won't... It'll do a lot of damage, but it won't do enough where it really puts Kyogre into trouble.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Sam opt to not go for the Geomancy. We saw last game he took his time going for Geomancy. He didn't. Oh no, that was Justin that didn't go for it right away. Went for that Protect. But it's going to be interesting to see what each player decides to do at this point. It's decent positioning for both. It's just going to be the prediction game.
Yeah, because you could also expect Justin to double into that Xerneas and go for a Protect. Oh, we see it here.
And we see that Protect right there. Sam, I wasn't sure if that was a happy punch or a good punch. We're going to see a power punch from Sam's Kangaskhan into Justin's Kangaskhan. So we're going to get a +2 Kangaskhan here. I think Sam's banking on Justin doubling into that Xerneas, fearing the Geomancy, kind of like what he did the last game.
Right.
He wants to kind of reverse the roles here. And we're going to see if that happens right now. We're going to see Kangaskhan go for a return. It is going to be into that Xerneas slot, and an Origin Pulse from Kyogre is going to get protected, but it's going to connect on the Kangaskhan and do a huge amount of damage because it is Origin Pulse in the rain. Not going to pick up the knockout, so we still have a +2 Kangaskhan on Sam's side of the field.
Yeah, and if Justin has Sucker Punch, that will knock out Sam's Kangaskhan, unless his also has Sucker Punch. So that'll be pretty important. But it does force Justin to Sucker Punch that Kangaskhan that Sam has.
Yeah, either way, he has to Sucker Punch that. Or he can switch out that slot if he predicts the Sucker Punch on the correct slot. But that's really risky. I mean, it's a 50-50, but I would think that Sam's going to want to Sucker Punch that Kangaskhan slot.
That's true. That would be a pretty hard read, and it would be effective if he switches out his +2 Kangaskhan to a Groudon, expecting, say, a Sucker Punch from Justin's Kangaskhan and then another Origin Pulse. That would let Xerneas get a Geomancy up completely for free. He'd get his Groudon in for free.
Exactly, but he opts to go for a little bit more obvious of a play. Going for the Sucker Punch here on the Kangaskhan. He does outspeed that Kangaskhan, so it definitely paid off in dividends.
Yep, unless it was a 50-50, then it could have been pretty risky, but paid off.
Yeah, it did pay off in that situation. We're going to see that Xerneas does go for that Geomancy. I kind of would have loved to have seen that switch, though. Imagine that Groudon coming in, and if it said Sucker Punch.
Yeah, Justin wouldn't have expected that, I don't think.
Definitely, but it looks like Sam's in great positioning anyway. It doesn't matter. Geomancy's going off. The Power Herb has in fact made Xerneas look incredibly powerful in just one turn. Even an Origin Pulse, now that Xerneas is at +2 special defense. But, we're going to go for the Water Spout, actually, from Justin's Kyogre. Going to pick up the knock on a Kangaskhan and do a good amount to the Xerneas. A critical hit would have been extremely terrifying at that point, but luckily for Sam, that didn't happen.
Yeah, but look how much that full HP Water Spout in the rain did. I mean, it didn't even do half.
Yeah, that's insane. That's absolutely wild. We're going to see that Justin goes into his own Xerneas as Sam goes into the Groudon.
And now the rain's gone. It's looking really good for Sam.
Yeah, it's all about these weather wars, man. Groudon coming in, gonna Primal Revert, get rid of the rain, put up the sun. Now Kyogre is pretty much limited to if it has Ice Beam. That's the only move that it can really use at this point. It can use Thunder if you want to risk the 50%, if it has it.
Yeah.
And that's not even gonna hit the Groudon, so it's really not looking too great for Justin.
And not a whole lot Justin can really do.
Do you think he tries to go for the Geomancy at this point?
Yeah, I mean, that's all he's got, unless he wants to go for a Moonblast and hope it critical hits Xerneas. But then how's he ever going to take out Groudon?
Yeah.
He's not going to get the rain up because these are his last two, so he's stuck in sunlight.
Yeah, there's no skill swapping, there's no switching, there's nothing happening. We're going to see the opposing Xerneas goes for Moonblast into that slot. Groudon goes for a Precipice Blades. It's going to miss the Kyogre, and an Ice Beam is going to come out, going into that Xerneas slot, perhaps hoping for
crit, maybe.
A crit? That could be the only thing. I'm not even sure. Can you get a freeze in the strong sunlight? I don't know if that's a mechanic, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a mechanic. Let us know using the hashtag #PlayPokemon. I honestly think you can get a freeze in the strong sunlight, but it'd be kind of cool if you can't.
Yeah, it is. It's strong sunlight.
It's strong sunlight. It's just going to melt that ice right away. I really don't know. We're going to see the Protect is going to fail for this for the second use on Justin Xerneas. A Moonblast is going to knock out Justin Xerneas here. And, of course, we have the Groudon that still has to move. Going for the Precipice Blades. This time it is going to connect single target, so no spread damage here. Kyogre is going to take a huge amount of damage, over 50%, around 60, 70%. And an Ice Beam is going to come out for Kyogre again into that Xerneas slot. But, of course, barring a crit or a freeze, we're not going to see anything happening for Justin. And it looks like our undefeated trainer is going to bow out in the top 4, which is still fantastic.
Yeah, he had a great run, and like we said before, this is breakout performance. Top 4, really good.
Yeah, without a doubt. You can't complain when it's a breakout performance. Getting top 4. Sam has been playing. I feel like Sam's been in the circuit for a very long time.
I mean, he's a Worlds player as of today, making top 8. So
he is a Worlds player as of today. That's very true. And I've seen his name and his face around for a while now. So it's no shame losing your breakout performance, making it all the way to top 4 at the Wisconsin Regionals, and losing to Sam. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
No, he had a great showing, undefeated all the way up until top 4, losing to a Worlds competitor at that. he's got to be happy with how he did.
For sure, and I think seeing how strong Xerneas is, just that Geomancy, it's absolutely, it's devastating, honestly. It was in that game, it was whoever got Geomancy up first. Actually, to be fair, Sam got around it.
He did,
in game one.
Yeah, he did. Justin even got that Geomancy up first, and he had the Amoonguss out with it, but it didn't matter.
It didn't matter at that point. Definitely well played by both contestants. Well, we do have our finalists. Before we jump into our last match and crown a champion of Wisconsin, we're going to go ahead and jump to a little break, and then when we come back, we'll have a short winner interview before that match, so don't go anywhere.